Hi, David, and thanks for that introduction. Thanks for the opportunity today to run through the neuroscientific story with your audience. What I want to do today is briefly go through what makes our technology and our target market so attractive and run you through where we plan to go over the next 6 to 12 months. Next slide, please. To give you an overall snapshot of where we're at and what we're developing, Neuroscientific is developing a novel first-in-class therapeutic drug that can help people living with neurodegenerative diseases, like things like Alzheimer's, dementia, MS. And these are the conditions that currently have very little treatment options available. So we're doing this by developing and commercializing our lead drug candidate, which is called NSB. And this is a drug that's able to protect and regenerate neurons while also reducing neuroinflammation. We've got fantastic efficacy data from multiple animal models, which has all been able to show that it significantly benefits models of Alzheimer's disease, glaucoma, and dementia, and multiple sclerosis. Through the course of development of this product, we've conducted over 40 preclinical studies, which have all pointed towards this drug being safe and effective. We've done this, back to that other one, thanks. We've done this through collaboration with our partners, primarily across the US and the UK, but around the world. And we are now getting ready to start our phase 1 clinical trial next year, which we are very well funded for. Next slide, please. The company was listed in 2018 in an oversubscribed IPO. We've got 143.5 million shares on issue, and our largest shareholder is Macrae Investment, which is the large family office of the Clough family. We've got $12.3 million cash in the bank, and that's more than enough to cover all our R&D costs over the next 12 months. Our company was founded by Matt Lidlow and Anton Uvarov. They've both got vast experience in corporate development and capital markets, as well as having scientific backgrounds. We are fortunate enough to have the great Paul Rennie as company chairman. Paul's got a lot of experience and success under his belt when it comes to starting biopharmaceutical companies. He founded and is still chairman of Paradigm Biopharmaceuticals, a company that he took from a startup to a $500 million company. He also played an important role at Mesoblast, where he was the executive VP and COO of new product development. So it's actually he's a bit of an expert, and we are very excited and enthused to have him on board and have his input. Next slide, please. So neurodegenerative diseases is a term that encompasses many diseases, including things like Alzheimer's disease, dementia, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and many more. What's happening in all these diseases is that the neurons themselves are breaking down and dying, and currently there are no treatment options available that can actually stop and repair these nerves from dying. The global market for these conditions is huge. So Alzheimer's disease affects around 55 million people. However, this is likely to be an underestimation. It's the most expensive disease in the US, and currently there's an exorbitantly high demand for more effective treatment options that can actually stop the disease in its tracks and stop people from losing their memory. So this has been a landmark year in the field of Alzheimer's, because in the middle of the year, Biogen had their first Alzheimer's drug approved for an amyloid antibody. So this is the first new drug to be approved in over 20 years. And as a result, we saw Biogen's market cap soar. And it went up to about $40 billion, which is huge. And it's no wonder, considering how much revenue we pulled in from a successful Alzheimer's program. It's estimated that Adulam, which is Biogen's drug, will bring in around $5.5 billion by 2027. On the other hand, we've got MS, and MS is a disease that affects around 2.5 million people. It usually strikes people when they're younger, in their 30s, and it's a progressive disease with increasing disability. The costs for people living with MS are incredibly high, from around $30,000 a year for people with mild MS to over $100,000 a year for people with more severe MS. Global sales for MS drugs in 2020 was about US $22 billion. So big figures there, and there's a significant opportunity to develop better treatment options in these areas. And large pharmaceutical companies are all on the lookout for good assets like ours that can do just that. Next slide, please. To briefly explain how MGB works, we've got the following animation. So you can see here we've got these healthy neurons signaling, firing their signals down those long arms called axons. However, what happens with neurodegeneration is that the structure of these neurons starts to break down. And because neurons can't replicate themselves, we need to repair them before they die. That's what MGB does. And here it comes binding to these receptors, which then activate these intracellular signaling molecules that promote survival and regeneration of that neuron. And that allows the neurons to become healthy and start signaling again. Next slide, please. Okay, so one of the things about clinical research that's really important is to make sure that you do the groundwork before you jump into the next phase. So we have conducted over 40 preclinical studies that have all added to our body of research around MGB. And the data so far has been incredibly promising. So we've been able to show that MGB is able to reduce neuroinflammation, it regenerates damaged neurons, and it's highly neuroprotective. And in animal models of disease, we've shown that it's able to rebuild the myelin in our multiple sclerosis models. It improved cognitive outcomes in Alzheimer's disease models, and it improved the condition of the optic nerve in a glaucoma model. And this is all accompanied by advanced safety data. Next slide, please. Our preclinical program is due to complete soon, allowing us to commence our phase 1 clinical trials in healthy human volunteers early next year. The first trial will be centered around capturing safety data for our neurology program, and it will consist of around 90 healthy human volunteers who will be recruited through our partners at Linear Clinical Research, based in Perth. Our preclinical IND enabling work in the ocular indication are due to complete late this year, and clinical trials in glaucoma patients are expected to start next year, early next year. So as many of you who have been following the story for a while will know, there have been some delays outside our control. However, we're very pleased to start these 2 clinical trials next year. We're very well placed to do so. As a company, you only get to cross this threshold once, where we are transitioning from being a preclinical company to a clinical stage company. And that's a step that we are very excited to take. Next slide, please. We're pleased to have attracted some of the top research partners from around the world, and we've got an outstanding team of scientific advisors with extensive experience running clinical trials. So it's great to have their input and have them on board. Yeah, next slide, thanks. So to summarise, NSB is developing a peptide-based drug with a broad range of applications across the neurodegenerative disease space, but most focused at the moment on MS, Alzheimer's disease, and glaucoma. We've conducted numerous preclinical studies and have compelling data showing that it stimulates neural survival, neuroprotection, and decreases neuroinflammation, as well as a host of other positive effects. In addition to our very compelling preclinical data, we've got extensive data around the drug's mechanism of action. And this is important as it's the sort of information that big biotech, big pharma are interested in. And so the more attractive we make ourselves to big pharma, the better. And that's all looking really good. So our program is also supported by extremely strong safety data. One of the benefits of being a peptide-based drug is that peptides are generally extremely safe and well tolerated. So very low risk of side effects. What we have here is a high growth stock with multiple inflection points imminent. Neuroinflammation is a very hot topic right now, and we have repeatedly shown that we are very effective at reducing neuroinflammation. if what we're seeing in our rigorous preclinical studies translates into humans, we've got a game-changing drug for people with neurodegenerative diseases. So thank you for your attention, and thanks to Share Cafe for the opportunity to present this in today's webinar. If you have any more questions, please feel free to reach out to either myself or our Managing Director, Matt Lidlow. Our contact details are on the next slide. And I hope this explains the compelling NSB investment proposition.
Great presentation, Alexandra. Really, really good. And clearly an important piece of research being undertaken. First question for me, what attracted you to the company and why are you so excited by what Neuroscientific is doing?
So I come from a science background. I did my PhD in neuroscience a few years ago, and I was just very, very excited and interested about the technology that Matt and Anton and the team have been developing. So the peptide MGB is very novel, and reading through those clinical research papers just ignited my interest and enthusiasm for neuroscience. So yeah, that was what attracted me to the company. Working with a really great team is obviously crucial, and working with people that you can trust, that you know are doing the right thing and are incredibly smart. So they are the main things that brought me to NSB, and I'm learning a lot about the corporate side of things. So certainly there's a lot going on in the business that is very well run. So it's a great example of how to run a biotech company.
Excellent. Now, we've got a few questions here. What's your update on the multiple sclerosis front?
So we have recently partnered with a CRO based in Canada called Biospective, and they are doing some really advanced imaging work with us in collaboration with this other company called Amica. So this is work that's going to be really focused around the MS preclinical pipeline. And what's happening here is they've got these advanced MRI imaging techniques laid on top with some special software that Amica have developed, and it's able to really distill down into the cellular level of the tissue, so you can see the neuroinflammation as it's actually occurring. So that's where we're at. We've got that partnership, and we are going to start those trials. We're in the process of doing that, and then yeah, the future of MS is looking very promising with our preclinical work to date.
Last question, how do you know it gets to the brain?
So the factors that influence whether a drug gets into the brain are usually its size and polarity. Based on those factors, MGB is able to penetrate, but there's more to it than just that. It actually, our MGB targets these LRP1 receptors, which are transmembrane carriers, active transport through the blood-brain barrier. So it gets through that way, and we've been able to show this and demonstrate it through our animal models. We've shown that it gets through into the CSF, which is the cerebrospinal fluid. And lastly, I think I've forgotten what I was going to say.
That's okay. So you've found a way to use the existing sort of transport mechanism, if you like, of the brain to get it in. So it should be commended on that in the first instance.
And then we will be doing some work in humans as well. That's right. We're going to be doing a small cohort of patients where we'll actually test their CSF to make sure that it does get through in humans.